So, Warren Buffett, a name we all know. Well, at 95 years old, he's just released what he's calling his final public letter. And let me tell you, after digging into it, this thing is, wow. It's so much more than just an investing memo. It's really a final masterclass on business, on giving back, and maybe most importantly, on how to live a good life. So let's break down what he had to say.
And he kicks it off with this phrase, which is just so Buffett, so understated. He says, as the British would say, I'm going quiet. Now think about that for a second. This is a guy who has been a public voice, a teacher, for what, over 50 years? For him to say he's going quiet, that's a big deal. It really feels like the end of an era.
Okay, so what's actually in this letter? Well, he basically breaks it down into three huge sections. First, what's next for his company, Berkshire Hathaway. Second, a major update on his plan to give away pretty much his entire fortune. And third, some really personal thoughts on life itself. We're going to dive into all three.
All right, first up, let's talk about the big one, the question that's been on every investor's mind for years, right? With Buffett finally stepping back, who's taking over the keys to the kingdom at Berkshire Hathaway?
And the answer is a guy named Greg Abel. Now, if you follow Berkshire, this isn't exactly breaking news. The succession plan has been in the works for a long time. But what's really fascinating here is how Buffett talks about him in this letter. The endorsement is just something else.
Just look at this quote. He doesn't just say, oh, he's a good guy, he'll do a fine job. No, he says he can't think of a single CEO he'd pick over Greg to handle your savings and mine. Did you catch that? And mine. That's Buffett telling the world he trusts this guy with his own family's billions. I mean, you literally can't get a stronger seal of approval than that.
And then he pivots a little and leaves a parting shot, kind of a warning, for the rest of corporate America. He talks about seeing way too many CEOs who are just driven by envy, you know? Their goal is to get look at me rich, and he argues that this kind of greed just leads to awful decisions. But here's the kicker. He puts the responsibility squarely on the board of directors. He's basically saying, hey, it's your job to be awake, to spot this and to do something about it before a bad CEO burns the whole place down.
All right, next up, the letter shifts gears to his personal fortune. And this part isn't about how to make more money or hang on to it. Nope. It's all about giving it away and why he's suddenly in a real hurry to do it.
So, right off the bat, he announces another massive donation. We're talking 2.7 million B shares of Berkshire Hathaway heading to his family's 4 foundations. This is, of course, all part of his famous giving pledge. But the really interesting part isn't just the what, it's the why now. The timing here tells you everything about his thinking.
And he actually asks the question himself right in the letter. He's like, look, my kids are already in their 60s and 70s, past the age most people retire, so why am I hitting the accelerator on these donations now?
And his answer is just pure, classic Buffett logic. So practical. He says his kids are at their absolute peak of wisdom and experience right now. They're the ones on the ground, they know what's going on, and they can adapt to a changing world in ways he can't anymore. And then he drops this amazing line. Ruling from the grave does not have a great record. It's brilliant. He's not telling them what to do. He's empowering them to do what's best right now.
Okay, and this next part, this is really the heart of the whole letter. It gets really personal. It's this beautiful, almost nostalgic look back at the one place that made him who he is, his hometown of Omaha, Nebraska.
He even asked this kind of playful question, can it be that there is some magic ingredient in Omaha's water? Because honestly, when you see the list of people who came from just a tiny corner of his neighborhood, it is absolutely mind-blowing.
I mean, just check out this timeline. It's wild. Back in 1940, a young Charlie Munger is working at Buffett's grandfather's grocery store. Fast forward to the late 50s, the guy who's going to be president of Coca-Cola, Don Keough, is living right across the street from him. And then, decades later, Greg Abel, the man he just picked to run the entire company, is living just a few blocks away. It's like, what are the odds? All these legendary figures, all from this one little pocket of Omaha.
And the way he talks about his longtime partner, the late, great Charlie Munger, it's just so full of warmth. He calls him his best pal for 64 years and even a protective big brother. But then he shares this detail that just floors me. In 64 years of business together, they never had an argument. Not one. I mean, just let that sink in for a minute.
Then there's the incredible story about his neighbor, Don Keough. So, Keough becomes president of Coca-Cola, right? And he's there for the whole new Coke disaster in the 80s. Well, Keough later told this story about how mail addressed simply to Supreme Idiot started getting delivered right to his desk.
But instead of hiding, he owned it. He took the blame, brought back Coca-Cola Classic, and sales went through the roof. It's just a perfect example of the kind of character and humility that Buffett has always admired.
So all of this, all these stories and reflections, they're all building up to his final lesson. And this one has nothing to do with stocks or money. It's about what truly matters in life.
And this part just blew me away. He's 95 years old, and he says he feels better about the second half of his life than he did about the first. His message is so clear, it is never, ever too late to improve yourself. What a powerful idea, right? That no matter how old you are, your best days might still be ahead of you.
To really drive this point home, he tells the unbelievable story of Alfred Nobel. Yeah, the guy who invented dynamite. So Nobel's brother dies, but a newspaper messes up and accidentally prints Alfred's obituary instead. Can you even imagine that? Getting a sneak peek at how the world sees you? And what he read was devastating. They called him the Merchant of Death. He was so horrified that he dedicated the rest of his life to completely changing his legacy. And that, of course, is how he got the Nobel Prizes.
And that leads right into Buffett's final challenge, not just to investors, but to every single one of us. He's basically saying, don't wait for a mistaken obituary to think about how you'll be remembered. Instead, he leaves us with this: decide what you would like your obituary to say and live the life to deserve it. Wow. I mean, what a powerful, simple, and profound piece of advice to end on. It just leaves you with one big question, doesn't it? What story do you want your life to tell?